Here? Oh, okay. All right. I can't even read the drill. All right, moving from left to right along the downward sloping linear demand curve. Demand price elasticity varies in which of the following ways? Cameron! Cameron! What's going on here?
Losing teaching time right now.
Okay, so give me the answer.
I said E, but it could be D.
First, all right, how many people agree with you? E as in Ellen. Okay, Mr. Owens, could you allow? I'll tell you what, Mr. Owens, I'm going to help you. I think. We'll see.
I remember drawing it, I just don't know.
Okay. Okay, so here, that's why I was going to help you, Mr. Owens, because I'm a man who loves you. All right, do you remember how to calculate the total revenue?
Percent.
No, just the total revenue test. You're thinking you have a way, but the total revenue. Anyone remember how to? Yeah. All right. So at A, the price is times quantity would be 50 times 10. That would be 500. Right. As price goes down to 40. The price now times 20 is 800. So if price is down and total revenue is up, what is that? Is it elastic or inelastic? It's elastic. So this top here has to be elastic. Okay. Now, Mr. Owens, you were talking, and you were right. I just stopped you so does everyone understand how we did the total revenue? Okay. I stopped you because I was asking, you were going to tell me a different way you could find inelastic. What was that?
Percent change, something over price.
All right, percent change, quantity demanded over percent change in price. Okay. And that would work also. Okay. And that would have got -5, which is elastic, right? Now, let's do the total revenue. Charles, the total revenue from X to Y. So at X, what's the total revenue? 800, right? 20 times 40 is 800. All right, and then we're dropping to 10. And Charles, if it's inelastic, what's going to happen to total revenue? Price down, what's going to happen to total revenue? It's going to go down. So at 10 times 50, it's 500. So it is inelastic down here, right? All right, with all that being said, Lorenzo, what is the answer now to the drill?
D.
First elastic, then unit, and finally inelastic. Okay? Questions, concerns? All right. Now, could have you used Mr. Owens? Yes, whichever one of these formulas is easier to get for you to do, you could use. All right. All right, Dean, I'll leave us a draft.
I'll cover a little bit of time in front of Spirit Amen. Dear God, thank you for the weekend and letting us relax and reset. Thank you for being to your boundaries and us for this name as well. Please bless us to use our minds today and make the most out of the time we have today. Amen. St. John Baptist, heal us out.
Okay. All right, so what do we got? All right, we kind of did this. So the feedback, we had 9-3, so I guess we had some learning going on. That's good. People wanted to do a quick review of the total revenue, which I just did here, right? Again, total revenue would be if price goes down, total revenue's up, it's elastic. They go in the same direction, it's inelastic. Okay. People ask if you have the same elasticity in the entire curve. You can if the curve is perfectly elastic or perfectly inelastic. So perfectly inelastic is here. And the reason why is quantities never change. So that's always going to be zero. And perfectly elastic is here. And there is prices never change. So both of those, you can have the same elasticity on the whole line. Perfect elastic. Again, the difference between perfectly elastic, which is here, is that price never changes, and perfectly inelastic, quantity never changes. Okay, I think of in like an eye, that makes me think the curve is like an eye. All right, how to calculate percentage? How to calculate percentages? That's just the new. So if I'm going back to the new A to B, which would be 40, minus the old, which was the former price, 50, over the old, which is 50. So that gives you 10 over 50. Okay, 50 into 10 gives you 0.2. All right, now for this, for elasticity of supply and demand, it's an absolute number. So we're not worried about negatives. Okay. Hopefully we'll get some practice in today, if not today, tomorrow. I think those were the questions you guys asked. Let's see if there are any more. More practice. People like more of the boards and bigger spaces on the. All right, I'm finishing up the end of the notes of the elasticity. We still didn't finish those notes up. If you want to take that out. All right. Today, I think you should be finishing up chapter 6. Then you start chapter 7. Wednesday, I'll review at 8 o'clock. The quiz will be only on chapters 5 and 6. All right. Now, all right. The notes are due Thursday. You could either do notes, you could do the entire chapter review, or you could do 5 application problems. All right, those would be those 3 alternatives you could do. I'm going to ask you, could you please just do them on paper and hand them to me Thursday? It's probably because I'm so freaking old, but looking on the assignment thing, it just drove me crazy looking at the stuff. I don't know why. So I would just rather have it on paper. I think I could grade it faster and give you better feedback that way. Okay, and then Friday, you read 141 to 148. Yes, sir. You can do it any way you want. You can type them or hand them. Whichever way is better for you. And I guess if you want to do the audio, even though I couldn't open up some audios. Did we do this question in class? Does anyone remember?
Wait, so you can do the audio?
You can. Yeah, but we're gonna have to make sure I can open it. I had trouble opening some. All right, do we do this question? All right, I'll give you a minute then. Assume the price of a good X decreases from 10 to 9 per unit, and the quantity demanded of good X increases from 25 to 30. And this price range, the demand for good X is. Got a minute. Wait, 2. Probably just make sure. raise your hand for one of three choices. Inelastic, elastic, I don't know. Okay, how many people think it's inelastic? Hands up. How many people think it's elastic? How many people are not sure? I don't know. Thank you for asking. All right. All right. Dan, do you remember how to do the total revenue test? Yeah.
So, well, it's 10 times 25.
Okay, so you have 10 times 25 equals 250, right?
Yes, and then 9 times 30 would be 2,000.
All right, so if price goes down and total revenue goes up, it's going to be elastic. All right, now, using Mr. Owen's formula, percentage change quantity demanded over percentage change in price. Could someone talk me through how that would show? I mean, it's going to show elastic also, but just so we could practice.
So to get the quantity demanded,
Yeah.
you got 30 minus 25 over 30.
30 minus 25 over 30,
That gives you a fifth.
so that gives
5
you
over 25.
5 over 30 minus 25 over 25, right? So that
Oh,
gives
yeah,
you-
my fault.
it's okay, that gives you a step. So here, I could write 0.2 up there, right? And now how do I get price?
You do 9 minus 10.
9 minus 10 over 10, and that's giving me 1/10, right?
Yes.
So that's gonna be 0.1, so I'm gonna end up with 2, right?
Yes.
2 is greater than 1. So 1 is greater than 1's elastic, less than 1's inelastic, 1 is unit elastic, so it's gonna be big. Okay? So on this one, they gave you information, they could have done both the formulas. Sometimes they only allow you to use one of them, you know, they don't give you all these numbers. Questions, concerns? Yeah, this was off an AP exam, so let's give them a question. All right, so now we're going to go into other types of elasticity. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the price elasticity of supply. Why? Because it's the same thing as demand, it's just for supply. The same formula is elastic, inelastic, the same properties, okay? So, measures how sensitive quantity supplied is. So if it changes, we know if price goes up, quantity supply goes up. But now we're going to try to figure out how much does quantity supply goes up. That is a great question, Andrew. So, elasticity, I wrote that before. Okay. So everything is more elastic. It produces have more time. Okay? Because they need time. It's like they can't like just change things on the second. So that formula looks right. It's the same as demand. Okay, and it's the same idea. If the supply curve looks like an eye, it's a steep curve, it's going to be like an inelastic curve. If it's a flat curve, it's going to be like elastic. And here, most goods have elastic supply in the long run. Now, well, I don't know why, but they love asking that. Like, is supply like more inelastic or elastic in the long run? I truthfully don't know why, but they do love asking it. So, not that anyone's here to get good test results, because no one can give a darn about their grades, but, you know, just in case for that 1 or 2, we're here to learn. Greatest strategic advantage you can have when you go out to the workforce is the ability to learn. Because no matter what schooling you get, unless you're going to be like a doctor or something like, or maybe, not even those. When you get out to the job, everything in school really, half of it doesn't come into play. And again, perfectly elastic quantity doesn't change. It'll be that same I type one. Okay. Here is just, they're gonna look the same, like that's perfectly inelastic. That should be relatively, and look, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time worrying about these lines. But if you remember, this is perfectly elastic, and this is perfectly inelastic. Again, I looks like an I. Then you're gonna know, okay, this is close to the nasty. That's close. The thing you should know, and it's the same as demand, right? Inelastic less than one, elastic greater than one. That I think will be important. All right. Which of the following must be true for original Michelangelo's sculptures? All right, give you a minute to think of it. All right, and I might have to reiterate, but there is also, there's no shame with raising your hand if you get these wrong. I mean, I think it's better to raise your hand when you're not sure, because then I'm going to explain it to you, and I think we're going to move on better. So that being said, who has A as an alpha? B as in broccoli, come on, it's a broccoli. C as in Caroline. I'm just looking around. We're not doing really well in the magazine front of all. Shows you you're a little leadership man, brother. All right, D as in Dogwood. Hands are flying. E as in Ellen.
Can you go back to the last slide for a minute?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through this and I'll go back. All right. Look, what did you have here?
I literally guessed P, because I didn't.
You literally guessed. Okay. Well, the good thing is it seems like you guessed right. Look, why don't you call on someone who will help explain to you why your guess was correct?
He's only making a certain amount.
Brother. Oh, so you're explaining to you, right?
Yeah.
Is the supply, no matter what, like you just said, if 1,000 people want Michelangelo's sculptures, are there going to be more of them? No, he's dead, right? So that is a quantity will not change, and that is what an inelastic, a perfectly inelastic curve, the quantity will not change. So therefore, Michelangelo's sculptures are perfectly inelastic. So what do you want to?
To the one before, I'm sorry.
All right, so that's kind of how you need to know, I guess, the perfectly inelastic. They don't ask a lot of times for numbers. They are a little sensitive, that you don't have to tell them. Lorenzo, when I was your age, what was the calculators like? Yeah, with my fingers. You're right. All right. And that, but you know, the calculators are great, but it's, I think like I'm horrible in math, but I'm really good with numbers because we had to memorize them all. All right, here's cross price elasticity. What does that measure? That measures how the change in price of one product might change the demand of the other. So we're thinking here substitutes and complements. All right, cross price elasticity is about, is there a spot for it on that? There is? It'll be about substitutes and complements. Now, Andrew, we got to worry about positive and negative numbers. All right, it's not absolute anymore. Cross price, we're worried about positive and negative numbers. Second if they're jotting this down. Okay. All right. So this is what I just said, shows how sensitive a product to change in price of another. Like I said, too, substitutes and complements. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the formula. I think, yeah. So it's the percentage change in quantity of product B over the percentage change in price of product A. Now, students ask me, how do I know which one's B and A? It doesn't matter, as long as you're doing the change in quantity of one over the change in price of the other. This is the easiest I've ever worked in my life. What do you think? This year's been really easy. No one's asking to see me on my periods off. I mean, if people ask questions, should I knock something over? Should I fish you off again? Oh, you're very sensitive. All right. So the price increases by 20%. I know that's going on the bottom, right? So I got this formula here. Price increases by 20%. I'm putting that down there. Hot dogs. Quantity increases by 40%. Okay, there it is. All right. What are we gonna? What's the product going to be here? Hamburgers. Right now, okay. If increase. Are these going to be substitutes or complements? Substitutes, right? Because if the price increases of hot dogs, we're buying less hot dogs, therefore we're buying more hamburgers. So a positive number is going to be a substitute. And if you ever have to go back to Pepsi and Coke, right? If price increases in Pepsi, people buy less Pepsi than they have to Coke increase. So when they go the same way, they're substitutes. Therefore, Lorenzo, if it's a negative number, it's going to be a complement. I don't know, do I have one coming up with it? Maybe when tuition's like 30,000 a year, they'll make a whiteboard big enough. Okay. Oh, there it is. Nice. If price increases by 20%, it's on the bottom. The quantity decreases, so you got minus 40 over positive 20. So now you have negative 2 it's a complement, okay? So hot dogs and hot dog buns. Are we good with that?
So what, does the 40 always go, so say we're talking about something hamburger. 40 always go to 20.
Yeah, well, only because Lorenzo, quantity always goes over price. Okay? So this would be, here, a price of product A, which is on the bottom, over quantity of product B. And both of the, you know, they're different, but, I'm sorry,
Is that negative 40% of the bus?
yeah, because it's decreasing, right?
What does that mean? It's negative again?
It's a compliment. And we know that, right? We know if people are buying less hot dogs, then they're gonna demand less hot dog buns.
So you write the equation of the hot dogs schedule.
You mean how? Yeah, sure. So Lorenzo, if I'm plugging in here, percentage change in quantity of product B. If I know product B is buns, that's negative 40. Over the change in price of product A, which is hot dogs, which is 20. So negative 40 over 20 would be negative 2. Is that what you wanted? Okay, no problem, thank you. We're good? Could you hear me in the back? I feel a little muffled today. Okay. If you see, as a coefficient is positive, they're substitutes, and then negative, they're complement. And by the way, a lot of times they do it like this. They don't make you figure out the percentage change, they give it to you. All right, so this was cross price elasticity. Can you tell us an inferior good from this? No. Can you tell, is it a normal good? No. You can tell the relationship between substitutes and complements. Okay? So don't let them, because typically the question would be, they'll give you these two numbers and say, A, is it a normal good? B, is it an inferior good? C, is it a substitute? D, is it a complement? E, is it all of the above? All you can do is substitutes and complements. Okay. Give you like 2 or 3 minutes. Let's do these two. Anyone need time on this? All right, I'm going to count to 3. You can just yell out substitute complement for the first one. 1, 2, 3.
Complement.
All right. Will, could you just run through the formula for me so we can show why it's a complement? So, Quantity decreased by 50, right?
Right.
And what happened to price?
What happened to price?
Yeah.
It went up.
Okay. So that gave me -2, right?
Yes.
If it's a negative number, then I know it's a complement, right? Okay. Who could walk me through the bottom one?
So the price increase to 40% was income, and then we had the 10% increase.
So that's a positive number 2, right? So that's 0.25, right? Right. That's substitutes, right? Yes.
Does it have to be like a decimal form or a fraction?
I think they're gonna live with it, because here, as long as you know it's positive, that's really the assumption. Okay? Okay, any questions there? All right, let's see, do we have income coming up? That would be the last thing on complement substitutes. All right, income elasticity. All right, here, we're gonna determine is something a normal good, which means income up, demand up, or is it an inferior good, which means income up, demand down? All right? Okay, so it's how sensitive a product is to the change of income. Like I just said, normal or inferior. Now, change in quantity is always on top. Instead of price, what do you think should be on the bottom? Income. Okay? So on all these formulas, just remember, the percentage change in quantity is always on the top. It's usually price on the bottom, except for this one. It's a little, just because we're dealing with income. I want to give you 30 seconds to think. If it's a positive number here, is it going to be a normal good or an inferior good? Just think on your own for a second. If it's a positive number, is it going to be a normal good or an inferior good? How many people vote inferior good? Positive number. Okay, what do you think it should be inferior? You voted for inferior.
Yeah,
Right? Why?
well, because if you have a change in quantity that's larger, so essentially income, it's
If income goes up 10%
then
and quantity goes up, let's say 20%, and it's a positive number, is that going to be a normal or inferior good? It's going to be normal, right? Because they're both going in the same direction. Okay. Oh, great. Good. Okay. So income increases at 20. We do this. Increases at 20. That's on the bottom. Quantity decreases, so that's -15. So that's -0.75. If it's negative, it's going to be an inferior good. Right? Because why? Income went up, but quantity went down. So that's the opposite. So it'd be a negative good. Okay, and that's just it written out if you like to write down. Joey, are you done with everything? All right, Joe, you come home for supper and someone at the dinner table says to you, what did you learn in econ? What would you tell them?
The relationship of when the cross price
Okay, so, what did you learn about cross price elasticity?
Cross price is the, so it's a relationship between substitute and cost.
Okay, so if the coefficient is positive, Joey, what is it? A negative? It's a complement. Okay, good job. Noah, besides cross price elasticity, you're at the same dinner table. What did you learn? Nothing? Nothing? All right, you can call on a friend to see did they learn anything else. Who? Okay, normal good is positive, negative is two. Would anyone else have anything else they might have learned? Rental.
Just found out like the quantity is always over the price and the quantity is always over.
All right, the quantity is always on top, the numerator. Good. All right. That all being said, anyone have any questions on what we did so far? Let's see, do we have a nice multiple choice question to end the day on? We do. Here we go. Quick multiple choice question to end the day on. Always a good. Okay, if the income elasticity of demand for good X is negative, oh my God. And the cross price elasticity for demand between good X and Y is negative, which of the following must be true of X? All right, give me a minute. Try to do it. I don't know if they do it by themselves. They learn better if you struggle. These are not important to get right or wrong. It's important to score. All right, let's see, how many people got A's in alpha? B as in broccoli. Actually, Matt, what is good X? I mean, is it inferior or normal? It's inferior because it's negative. Okay, Cameron, is it a substitute or a complement?
It was a compromise.
It's a complement, therefore the answer is. All right, got your little slips, put them in the box, have a great day. Come into my seat.